Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. Let's see. Oh, am I zoom? Okay, for a minute I thought I was jammed already on the computer. Actually, it's been working pretty good last few days, so fingers crossed. So, yeah, why did I pick that cute little deer? Well, one reason was just that I needed something to go on there. And frankly, all of my other stuff for this week just did not have a good image to it. So this one's not really a new Mandela, but I did notice something kind of new about them. It's this little dick deer, which is not supposed to be a swear word. And they're just, so when they first came out, they were just tiny little deer and they were cute, but they're looking like extremely elven lately. So I'll show you this one. So you can see they just look like little elves. The fur on the top of the head, I just don't remember them being that cute. And now they're developing this secondary eye structure. Now it's not really mentioned much yet, but it looks to me like it's going to be like a whole second eye looking thing. And there was one image in here that really showed it. Let me see if I can find it now. Doo-doo-doo. One of these images actually it really looked like there was like a whole nother eye, and the it looks like it's some kind of little gland under the eye or something, was like so puffed out that it really looked like a whole nother eye. And of course now I can't find that image, but I'm thinking that maybe that's what we're going to get. This wasn't it, but I'll show you. Do you see how it kind of looks like it has two? And it's definitely looking really kind of I don't know, cartoon characterish with the giant eyelashes like that. And I just don't remember it being that interesting. It's also getting kind of this weird snout thing that we've seen on some of the other animals too. So it seems like it's basically it's evolving. This is not the exact image, but it's close. You can just see it looks like. So I'm going to know if they're going to say, oh, it's like a secondary eye to confuse predators or something. But yeah, Dick. I think it's the world's tiniest deer or something too. It's really, really. Last I checked, it was. I don't know if it still is. See how tiny it is? Very tiny. So yes, I just put it on there because I had to have some image. Well, I don't have to, but now making your bed, breathing too much, and even hearing the referee whistle can give you a heart attack. Yeah, it's funny how mainstream media is saying everything. Heart attacks in young children are not as rare as you thought, according to mainstream media. What was another one? Oh God, that was just. This would have been a nice thumbnail too. Perfectly circular ice disc formed in a river in Westbrook, Maine. I believe I've already had a circular ice disc as one of my thumbnails though, and I do like those, but I try not to do the exact same thing if I can avoid it. Unicorn deer. Yeah, it does look like it looks very like an elf deer or something. It definitely feel like you're getting in a, like we're getting that movie Avatar is coming to life. Okay, so oops, dropping my stuff already. I was watching Dolores Cannon this week, and I just wanted to highlight something on the second to most recent show posted, what, February 1, talk about Ayers Rock and the New Earth. So it's at about, let's see, what, 44:30. So if you don't want to hear all the yammer about Ayers Rock, which is not as exciting as some stuff, um, right about here, there's an interesting part on this particular episode. And this is on the channel called Dolores Cannon. And I'm sure some of you have heard me talk about her before. this is an interesting one because I really haven't heard them talk a lot about the new Earth in like a few years. Like the older episodes kind of talked about it, but on this, starting at 4430, she starts talking about like a way of thinking of the shift. And I don't want to say that I know for sure exactly how it really is happening. And I think it's so maybe something that is really hard for our brains to really process anyway. So we're kind of left with coming up with our own way of thinking, or like our version of thinking about how it's happening. So I don't want to say this is how it's happening, but it does resonate with me that this is a good way of thinking about it and helping to process and develop the process further to our own ends. Whether or not this is exactly how it's working, I don't want to say this, but it resonates with me that this is a good idea to work on and look at it as. And so, like I said, it started at 4430. I'm not going to play it, but if you want to go through it, it's just like 10 minutes or something. It's not real long. So basically, she and her daughter are talking on this particular episode, and her daughter is explaining how it was shown to her that the new Earth and the old Earth for quite some time will be kind of superimposed on top of each other. And how so you can see like the really good, so we see the the beautiful things, and then the horrible, the people acting nasty and that kind of stuff. Both are there. You can look at either one. So how do you get to the new Earth? How do we get to not see the yuck? So she describes it kind of, this will be my version of how she describes it, but basically she said that she had some situation where there's different ways of looking at it when you're in a situation. You could say, oh, this is horrible, I can't stand it and it sucks. Or you could say, okay, I can deal with this. It'll get better later, and blah, blah. There's different ways of thinking of things. You can think, oh, that guy's such a big jerk and an idiot. Or you can think, it's unfortunate that guy is so insecure, and I'm not going to worry about it, though. That's his problem. There's just different ways of thinking things. So she was kind of talking about that, like when there are situations that come up in your life all through the day, and even when you're just sitting there thinking on something else that isn't even happening to you right at that moment, there's different ways of, of thinking of it. And you probably don't even think about how you think about it that much, but it's basically she's asking you to look at how you think about things and decisions you make on how the perspective you choose. Because the idea is basically one perspective is going to resonate with the new Earth, or one general perspective, and one general perspective is going to resonate with the old Earth that is the lower vibration frequency kind of deal. And you could look at it in different ways and say one is going to be like the heaven, and one is going to be like the earth or hell or purgatory. You can think of it that way. There's a lot of different ways that the different religions have portrayed this. So she calls it new Earth, old Earth, but there's definitely other ways to say it. So she's basically saying through your day and through your week and through the month, you will think on things, and how you think of them is going to help determine which direction you're moving in. So if you look at the old Earth, the negative Earth, it's going to be full of drama and judgment and fear, and that guy's an idiot, and I hate this guy, and this guy's a pedophile, and this guy's this and this and this and this. And even if they're true, though, do you spend all your day concentrating on that, thinking about it, and mulling it over your mind, and shoveling it around, and thinking about all the horror of everything that could be horrible? Do you spend your day and your time thinking about that, or do you spend your day and your time thinking about more positive things? Because 99.9% of these things we can't do anything about anyways. And even if you can do something about it, you wouldn't have to think really negatively to still accomplish a positive outcome. So that's kind of what she was saying, is like, every time you're confronted with a daily thing to think about, issues, whatever, if you think about them in a way that resonates with the new earth, which is going to be less drama, basically, then you would be moving slowly towards the newer earth, lighter, airy, more carefree, just less judgmental, hatred, all that. In the Bible, they talk a lot about not comparing yourself to others and watching what you think. It's not just what you do in the Ten Commandments, it's what's in your mind. So she's basically saying it's a slow process, but each time you choose the more positive route, you move a little closer to the new earth. And each time you choose a more negative route, you'll either be stuck in your current location or you could slide back towards the old earth. So as you become more aware of how you're thinking about things, get in the habit of trying to choose the less drama. Instead of hashing over an argument you had all day, try to let it go and just go, well, look, that guy has his own issues, and you don't have to get sucked into the drama. And, it's not always easy, of course, but, each time you choose the lighter route, the less dramatic route, then you move slowly more in the direction of the new earth. And as you do that really slowly, the worst parts of the old earth slowly become invisible. You can only see so far. And as you shift, that bit will kind of fall off. So that's the goal, is to just keep shifting away from the old earth. So she was saying, for some people, there's kind of a pitched battle on which way they're going to go. But eventually, everybody's going to have to choose. And it seems like I kind of get the impression, she didn't say this, but I kind of get the impression that the pressure is basically on with the energies, that whatever's in your mind is coming out now, and you choose consciously how to deal with it as much as you can. People are choosing, and you see this, I see people that are just like, I don't care, this is what I want, and screw everybody else, and they'd literally just come out and say it now. And I think those people are basically choosing the old earth. But the idea is that the more we choose every day by our decisions and our energy and what we concentrate on, which to be more positive, less judgmental, all the 10 commandments, all that kind of stuff, you move away from that old earth. So it kind of, if you look at it that way, then it kind of puts it into a more concrete perspective about what we probably should be doing to try to improve and move in a more positive direction. And that, it totally fits in with the Bible. It fits in with law of attraction. It's interesting how they all tie together. I don't think she really she never talked about law of attraction. I think it was just sort of coming out around the time that this was aired. I think it was 2011 was when she's talking about this. But it's just interesting to hear her talk about the dimensions and the shifting and the blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, here we are 11 years later talking about the same thing. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up. And frankly, it's not a real busy Mandela week for me, so I had lots of time. Uluru is the real name of it. Yeah, she does mention that. So, in that time, it wasn't, they were just getting around to starting to say, oh, we should call it Uluru because that's what the native indigenous culture calls it, and that's more polite and stuff like that. So you got to realize it's, she's a product of her times. But she does mention that. Good news is psychedelics are legal now in Cali. And they actually never were illegal for me. I just didn't know about the Native American Freedom of Religion Act until recently. Well, I knew you could do it for, like, peyote for the Native Americans, but are they legal for the rest of us schleps? Did they just change it? I know it was on the dockets. Psychedelics. Unless they just did something, but I haven't heard anything. Yeah, I don't think they're quite legal, is it? So I think they're legal if you're a registered church, and it's done in a certain ceremony, and even then it would still be California law, not feds, but was approved by California on Tuesday. Okay, so is this, oh, it looks like it did go through. Wow. That's interesting because last I heard it was not at the final, wait a minute, 8 months ago? 8 months ago, there's no way. If enacted into law, the bill will remove criminal penalties, blah, blah, blah. This approach moves us away from failed war on drugs. So I think this is a decriminalization, basically. It's based on badly thought premise of blah, 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 blah. So people already in the slammer for this are still screwed. Mescaline from peyote is specifically excluded from the bill's reform provisions because of the nearly endangered status of the peyote plant. Lawmakers describe it as decriminalization. Official legislative analysis, the proposal states that it would be make lawful. Now they're trying to put it on the ballot for 2022. Okay, so that is not saying it's completely done. All right, now let's go to courthouse news. All right, that looks like around the same time. So I don't think it's totally legal yet, is it? It could be very close, though. Very close. Yeah, I still think we aren't there yet, though. When Joe wants to give people crack, pipes is the magic thing. Yeah, I don't know. There's some weird thing going on that I've been hearing a lot about. Okay, so like in Europe, they have some programs that work pretty good for drug addiction. Part of the program is the government gives them the drugs they want for free. And what that does is kind of takes away the incentive to steal and commit crimes to get drugs because they will get them one way or another. The other thing that it does is that it makes sure that their drugs are pure, so they're not like spiked with fentanyl, overdosing, and that stuff is less likely when there's a controlled strength without weird stuff in it. The third thing it does is it kind of drives off a lot of the drug dealers because they can't sell their drugs when the product is free. And a lot of the drug dealers are out there trying to addict new people, and it's a waste of time for them to do that if there's, no money to be made. So it kind of does that. But the other thing they do is in order for them to get their free drugs, they are required to do some minimal things like go to some counseling sessions and that kind of thing. The goal there is to get them off the drugs. So they have your attention. You just have to sit through this stuff. And so the treatment program has been fairly successful. I think there's a few other things they could do, but the overall premise is to kind of drive off the drug dealers and try to minimize harm and try to get them off the drugs. So it sounds, though, like what San Francisco has been doing lately is they just picked half the program, that they gave the program the half where they just give them the drugs. And then they claim that they're signing them up for treatment programs and housing, but there is no treatment programs and housing. So they basically just get their name and stuff, and then they give them drugs and all the drugs they want. And I don't know, it almost seems like they're trying to just kill them off or something, because they're not. Maybe this is the cheaper half of the program. The drugs are really, a lot of these drugs are pretty easy to make. The only reason they're expensive is because they're illegal. Like weed. I mean, weed actually grows like a freaking weed. So they're doing like the cheap end of the program. If people die, then you don't have to, help them with job skills and house them. And it can take years for people to get on their feet. So I don't know. It's just, it's hella creepy. I'm not against the program if it's done properly, but other countries that have been working on these programs for decades are saying that what's happening in San Francisco is horrible. And, all of the drug people are just hanging out, using together, and having a big party. And that is also frowned on because the programs are not supposed to normalize drug use and make it like a social fun event. You're trying to get them off the drugs. So you don't want them to just go, drug use is fun and great. And, so I don't know. So this whole crack pipe thing got me in on that. And I don't know, this whole timeline has definitely got its evil side. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess one part of my brain is like people can make their own choice and you're letting them. But on the other hand, it just locks them in harder to their path if you don't help them. I'm against drugs, but microdosing psychedelics seems really good for mental health. It doesn't seem like it has a very big downside because the people who do microdosing are usually just trying to get off the big pharma drugs, and it does work pretty well for that, for a lot of people. And they're not very addictive. Psychedelics can be, but it's rare. I mean, they're less addictive than, say, alcohol. Less addictive than nicotine and all those, so... Supercells. Has anybody heard of supercells? Okay, so supercells are the word they've been using the last few years for those giant storms. And they call them supercells. Now that I think about that, I wonder if they're going to say they're like a giant battery or something, because that is an interesting terminology. Yeah, supercells are weird. They've got all this weird cloud stuff and these downdrafts of 100-mile-per-hour winds and all... it's just weird. Yeah, they're weird. Don't forget your God-given right to say, F, I'm having a good day. Yes, yes. So, it's for me, as I've actually was raised in a fairly negative environment, and I had a really strong habit of thinking negatively. So it's been a challenge for me more than probably a lot of people. Empty cracked pipes are filled. I don't know. I didn't, spend a lot of time on this news, but I guess there was something going on where there was going to be... I'm kind of against this because I don't really see the point, but they were going to give out these care packages to drug users, and one of the one of the things mentioned was crack pipes, and I don't really see the point of that. And then they dialed back on it and walked back on it and said, no, it'll just be things like lip balm and alcohol wipes and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't know. It sounds like a load of hooey to me, but I mean, it's all taxpayer funded. I'm actually good with needle exchange programs, but those are usually funded by not by the government, but by private people who are trying to help out, and just to keep the needles clean so they don't get like hepatitis and stuff too. I don't really see the point in giving them the paraphernalia. I'm sure that they have that. It's reusable. I don't really get that at all. Now aren't you just encouraging them to smoke? I don't know. I don't understand the thought processes there. It's just weird. I think entities are controlling the lawmakers, and that drugs open gateways for more of those entities. Yeah, I see. That's the thing. It's like they're doing the part of the program that would make, with that, doing that part of the program only without the other half of the program just seems like a way to have people get more drugs faster and degrade faster and die faster. Because a lot of these people are limited in the amount of drugs they can get by the amount of money they can scrape up. But once you just let them have all the drugs they want without any limits or other things to try to counterbalance it. Yeah, so I don't know what the heck with San Francisco. I don't even want to go there. It's sad. Major logo now just simply looks like a spin-off of the real logo. I don't know what major logo is. That one's not a thing for me. Let's see. Major. I don't have that. I'm not even spelling it right. MEI, major logo. So yeah, I don't know. Is that from Kroger or something? If that's right for you guys, I don't know that logo. I guess it's some kind of food store that some people have. Anybody remember this old major logo? All right, let me just look at the Logopedia here. Okay, so yeah, supermarkets. Through 1956 was that one. Probably not too many here will remember that far back. Through 84 was that one. To 2004 was these two yellow dot thingies. And this is the present. So either blue or yellow dots. I don't know. Yeah, whatever you guys say. I don't know on that one. Matt Myers, like an Amazon fake. I don't know. A lot of these people look different to me. They sound different. Trudeau is definitely one that's kind of a chameleon. The way I remember him like 15 years ago, he seemed like a better, more intelligent person. Then he got the beard. Now he just seems kind of dumb or something. I definitely don't agree with some of his stuff, but even when he's talking and things, he just doesn't seem like he's as sharp as he once was. Live chat. Oh yeah, let me switch to live chat. You were in San Francisco and a man was doing number 2 in the middle of the street. Yeah, I don't see. Something's going on over there. It's just it's kind of a combination that the cities have had a double whammy with the COVID. Okay, you have a lot more homeless. People lost their jobs and the housing is already expensive. So you're kind of on the razor's edge when it's like that. Then you've got I lost my train of thought. All right, I'll go back to that. Oh, okay. So you've got places like Walmart and big companies have decided they're not going to allow any enforcement of rules in their stores because of insurance reasons. So basically, insurance companies said they crunched the numbers. They said it's cheaper to just do nothing and let them steal everything. But what they don't look at is long term, because the more they allow people to do nothing and theft to occur, and they call the police, and the police are there like 10 minutes after the guy's gone, so almost none of this gets caught. The more they allow that lack of response, the more they get targeted for more theft. It's like, okay, Walmart doesn't do anything. We'll steal from Walmart. I mean, who are you going to steal from? Are you going to steal from the store that doesn't do anything, or are you going to steal the store that tackles your butt when you're trying to get out the door? So they look at the numbers only like that. Like, they don't look at it as the deterrent factor at all. They just go, oh, well, somebody might get hurt and that might be expensive, so we'll just never do anything. So the stores aren't doing much in the way of security. Now, the police don't get there in a timely fashion, but now when they do, anything under, I don't know, is it like 800, they're not going to do anything. So criminals set up a shtick, where they steal under 800, nobody does anything. Maybe they get caught once, it's a slap on the wrist. After a while, syndicates and it becomes organized. It's an organized system of theft after a while. Once that gets entrenched, it's kind of hard to dig it out. Then you got all the drug use that has just gone up and up with the fentanyl and everything. And then you've got more people who need money really bad, who are willing to do these thefts things. And then you have more brokers that are funneling the product through for money. And it just becomes a system. Once that system sets up, it's really hard to get rid of that. So you can see it's being funneled on multiple ends. It's been driven. So by doing nothing and then saying, oh, any enforcement is racist and like that, you're just, I don't know how they're going to get out of that mess. I think it just it's going to have to run its course to somewhere. Oh, I heard the crack pipes Biden thing was to flood the internet to cover up the search of his son and crack pipes. Yes. That could be it. Yes, that could be it. Never had blue dots, huh, Major? No blue dots. Okay, yes. You kind of wonder if maybe like this was one's timeline and this was another. So now they had two logos. I mean, why would they have blue and then, why? Used to be you try to have one logo and really get people used to that one logo. So. But then why did other, I don't know, aren't they the same across timelines? That's like kind of a big question. I'm like, somebody picked yellow in one timeline, someone picked blue in another timeline? I don't know. So did they change to yellow dots? So apparently they use both blue or yellow. And the blue ones have this higher standards, lower prices spiel, and the yellow one doesn't. Let's go back and see images. Now they have an idea of it, so I'm seeing a lot of the blue Major logo. So you type in Major logo, it looks like it's mostly the blue dots. And then this is the older logo with the scrape marks, whatever those are called. Oh, interesting. So it says that yellow is possible, but I'm not seeing it in any of these images. So if somebody only saw blue ever, then that might not be a Mandela for them. But if they're sure they saw yellow all the time, and it wasn't these, what do they call those? Bent over, I used to know that math term, the bent over squares. If it was yellow circles, then this might be a Mandela for you, because I really am not seeing them hardly. I have seen none here. Oh, this is an interesting one. I don't know if this camera was goofy and couldn't see the yellow, which may happen, but or the red, because it looks like it's yellow in that one. Okay, so I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't know that one. Underground tunnels are everywhere. Well, this timeline loves underground tunnels. So I don't know what to say on that one. I mean, they're showing up like everywhere. And it's not, drug running tunnels necessarily, although in some cases it is. Some of these are ancient tunnels. All those tunnels under like all the cities now have them where they said it's like old. Some of them are old prohibition tunnels, supposedly. Old steam tunnels, old tunnels for sewage lines, old tunnels for subway systems that I never even heard of that are supposedly there 100 years ago. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with these cities. They're kind of rotting really fast all of a sudden, and I think it's really suspicious because for 100 years they were really nice, and then in the last 10 years they've just suddenly rotted from the inside out. I just find that really suspicious, like all of them at once pretty much. Preliminal almost moved to Portland. Yeah, I don't know. I have to say, when I was in Tucson, it was kind of nice, and the people were, I don't know how to describe it. They were just nicer. They were like San Diego was like 20 years ago. Just like when they said thank you and handed you your receipt, they meant it. It's not just some rote thing. And when I was driving there and I had to stop at a gas station and these girls were so nice. Oh, thank you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, wow, these are like the nicest people I've met in years, literally. And then I went to the next place and there was more nice people. I mean, it's not like every last person was nice, but you see them and you go, these are really nice people. Have you seen Wave Rock? I believe that has been on. I think that's one that started out small. When I first saw Wave Rock, it was only like waist high, and then it just got like taller and taller. Yeah, 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 yeah. This one. So yeah, now I don't know how tall. Yeah, see? Oh, it's even taller than last time I looked. So when I first saw that, it was only like 4 foot high. Then it was as high as a person. So yeah, it's rising up like a tsunami. Yes, definitely. Look at that. Much bigger than last time I looked at it. Last time I looked at it was just a little higher than a person. So very interesting. I don't even think I had too much of just a little blurb on the show because it was so short. Then I'm like, oh, these weird rocks are showing up. And that was like the end of it for. Pittsburgh felt like normal people too when I visited. Okay, interesting. So the only problem with me is I'm like spoiled, rotten Californian, so there's probably a limit to how much weather I could tolerate. Perhaps a symbol of people needing to connect more with the rotting cities. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I've kind of wondered, maybe it's just that life can't work in the new earth or something. It's just not natural enough for us. All the psychoactive drugs are now legal in Cali. I have not heard them sign the final bill, though, for the psychedelic drugs being legal. I mean, I've heard they've been working on it for a while, but okay, so that's that one. All right, this one is an interesting one. If you remember Pulp Fiction, there's kind of an iconic scene where there's a close up of the car and it says like Mr. Wolf on it. But it doesn't now. And I do remember seeing that, not just when I saw the movie, but also just kind of here and there, as like symbolic of the movie. And now they show and I, the other thing is, though, I don't remember quite this angle. I remember it looking, the guy looks like he's laying on the ground taking this image, but I remember him looking down just a little bit, like maybe a foot above the plates, and I remember seeing Mr. Wolf. And apparently that's not in the movie anymore. They still have the scene of the close-up of the plates, but now it's just some boring plate. It is not Mr. Wolf. So, I don't know, but it's gone. Now, somebody said he remembers the Wolf. I remember Mr. Wolf. See, a fair number of people do remember it. Okay, this person remembers this was when he pulls off in the car, so he remembers seeing it from the back. That might be what I saw from the back. I'm not sure. But either way, the plate should be the same on the front and back, so. Let's see, let me click on this one. This is actually from Retconned. Who dug this one out? Dead Not Sleeping dug this one out. Oh, wait. Okay, here's a redo of the old image from Dead Not Sleeping. 8 years ago. Interesting. This part of Pulp Fiction has one of my favorite lines in all cinema in it. Yeah, except for that's not the original. So, yeah, good residue there. Okay, oh, it was from McScoopers. User, or, user McScoopers. Good find. Do you test the garnets in the lab? I thought you said he was in lotions and stuff. They're trying to push us all into secure, secluded, high-rise apartments. Yeah, see, that's interesting because that's one narrative that I know the right wing is all paranoid about. And there's this whole drama, dystopian scenario where they're trying to do that, like Hunger Games, right? But then when you look at what's actually happening, the reverse is happening. People are fleeing the cities. So if that's what they really want, it's not working. I know a lot of people left LA. People are fleeing California. We're the most populous state by far than every other state. For the first time in decades, population has dropped in California. Population has gone up in Florida and Texas. Big surprise there. It's gone down in New York and California. The cities have gone down. The cost of housing that is more rural has gone insane in the membrane. People are just clamoring for those country estates right now. So people scared of COVID are afraid they'll get COVID in the city, so they want out. They're afraid COVID is going to, it's kind of toned down now, but they were terrified that, there would be economic collapse from COVID, right? Death in the streets and all that. They wanted to be able to hide out in this country and just, not be near humans. And then the Republicans were afraid that the Democrats were going to cause a dystopian state with their rules. They didn't want to be anywhere near the Democrat strongholds, so they were all fleeing the cities. So it ain't working. I mean, and I see this a lot of times with the current reality is that there's a narrative, a fear porn that this is what they're trying to do. But if you really look at it, the complete opposite is happening. Like the extinction of the animals thing, These animals show up and we're told they're almost extinct and they'll be dead in 10 years and it's horrible and it's almost for sure and everything's screwed. And then a couple years later, there's 10 times more of those things. So be very cautious about the narratives that are being fed to us from various channels, because it really seems like if you actually really look at things, a lot of times the reverse is what's happening. Yeah, see, people are not moving to the high rises, they're moving out of the city. Low rise and medium rise is low equals key happening instead. I don't know. I just know population is dropping in the cities. The wolf. I definitely remember the wolf part. I think the wolf. That's interesting because I'm really quite sure I saw Mr. Wolf. Mr. Wolf. But there was a few other people who said they saw the wolf also. In some states, cops legally rob armored money moving vehicles. So that storyline, I think you heard that there was like a sheriff that was robbing, he was stopping and pulling over armored cars. But there's one little detail. He was only doing it to armored cars, carrying money. At least this is what they were saying, carrying money from marijuana farms. So marijuana farms are federally illegal. So basically, he was using that loophole, and then the courts let it slide because it's federally illegal. So technically, he can take it. And so a lot of areas, if the cops if they confiscate money, they're allowed to keep it for their department. So I don't think I didn't really check into it, but I'm assuming he was just taking it from for his department. So yes, it's scummy, certainly, but this legal loophole again. Of course, that doesn't. There's also the eminent, what is it? Not eminent domain, but there's other confiscations that happen, and yeah, you could just see there's a lot of spots where the law is very unethical right now. Might be he was called the Wolf and the plate was Mr. I just remember it as being Mr. Wolf. I don't know why, but 2 armored cars were stopped carrying money from legal weed. See, it's legal in the States, but it's not legal federally. They haven't changed it. Feds haven't changed the rule. Going to the Supreme Court. Last I heard, though, the Supreme Court, maybe they just decline to prevent it until they hear it, but hasn't been very promising. Some of those things really depend on state right versus federal jurisdiction, and it's going to come down to that more than necessarily ethics, because they aren't allowed to make the law. They basically just interpret existing laws. So even if they think laws that suck, they still have to interpret them. Okay, so so that was that one. Wave rock. Let me see what else I got. Okay, this one is from Shari D. Okay, Dolores one was I found. Do you remember? Anybody remember the USA dropping a nuke on North Carolina by mistake? And then it just magically not going off? It just seems like there's a million of these stories now where we almost blew ourselves up, and then for some reason, some Hail Mary thing. I've never heard of these until the last 5 years. I should put the caveat that that was actually 2 nukes that they dropped. And it was found hanging in a tree, luckily not detonated. So there's one of them. See if I can find the original here. Six years from now. He called him the Wolf on the phone, but he was Mr. Wolf on the plates and in person. Yeah, so, when the vanity plates are a tad off, you don't really question it because you're like, well, you can't always get the exact plates you want. So that was realistic. Speaking of which, even in the UFO community, UFOs apparently deactivated nukes and other bombs secretly kept in military facilities. Those stories are also growing. So maybe 10 years ago, I heard the first story and there was only one instance of it. But now it seems like it's pretty common. So yeah, they didn't go off, but see if this loaded at all. No, it didn't really go anywhere. There, that might be the one. So the basic storyline was that the plane was flying over and it had some kind of problem and it broke up. Oh, this is interesting, actually. In 1961, as John F. Kennedy was inaugurated, Cold War tensions were running high, and the military had planes armed with nuclear weapons in the air constantly. I've never heard of that. These planes were supposed to be ready to respond to a nuclear attack at any moment. If the planes were already in the air, the thinking went they could survive a nuclear bomb hitting the United States. That doesn't really make that much sense to me. I mean, you get like 15 minutes warning if their bombs are incoming. A plane could launch in that amount of time. It would actually be better for them to have them in a remote location, not launched, and then launch really quick, and then have a full tank of gas. I mean, this storyline is kind of wonky. In January, a jet carrying 2 12-foot-long Mark 39 hydrogen bombs met up with the refueling plane, whose pilot noticed a problem. Fuel was leaking, the wing was failing, and the plane needed to make an emergency landing. Before it could, its wing broke off, followed by part of the tail, killing 3 of its crew. In the plane's flailing descent, the bomb bays opened, and the 2 bombs it was carrying fell to the ground. So that was one of them. 1 bomb fell with parachute deployed. A bad sign, as it meant the bomb was acting as if it had been deployed deliberately. It started flying through the 7-step sequence that would end in detonation. The last step involved a simple safety switch. When a military crew found the bomb, it was nose up in the dirt with its parachute caught in a tree, still whole. The last switch was still turned to safe. So now they're saying just that for some reason that last switch saved you or something. The second bomb had disappeared into a tobacco field. It took a week for the crew to dig it out. The bomb had not exploded but had broken up on impact. When they found the key switch, it had been turned to arm. To this day, it is unclear why the bomb did not go off. The secondary core made of uranium never turned up. Today, the site where the bomb fell is safe enough to farm, but military has made sure using an easement that no one will dig or erect a building on that site. Okay, so you can grow food on it, but you can't put a building on it? Yeah, nice. Anyway, so 2 bombs. They both mysteriously almost went off, but didn't. The whole storyline is wonky. So yeah, I agree. Shari D found that one, and it is weird. I just feel like we would have heard about this. All those people against nuclear weapons would say that time we dropped bombs on ourselves, the time we almost blew up, what was that place? North Carolina. Who would ever admit to anything like this? Well, yeah, I mean, I agree, but then if why would they admit to it now? It would either have been there or they just would never have. I mean, where are all these stories even coming from? The cheesy little Atlas Obscura. I mean, where did they get this from? It just suddenly shows up on the internet somehow and on Wiki. I never look for Emmys, but they magically pop up on my computer. I do feel like when stuff is new in the timeline, it gets shopped around. There'll be a meme, like say the look of elephants changes, then pretty soon there'll be a meme or something viral about an elephant that will splay out that new look to everybody. So sometimes whenever there's like a really viral meme and it has animals or something real in it instead of just some goofy cartoons or something, I look at it because I'm like, something's in there is going to be Mandelified. And it's just pretty much invariable that there will be something in there. New cloud formation, Asperitas. That one's older for me. I had it on a couple years ago. Yeah, they're really, really creepy. Article is now article? No, there's no way. There's no way. Article, there's no way. Article. Common misspelling of article, CLE. Yes. So there is no article, it's article. Not currently. Linda Lava Lamp's out. Thanks for coming by. Okay, this one, I got a couple personal Mandelas. I talked to you a while ago about Larry, my, well, I think I said his name before. Anyways, I'm not giving last names, but somebody I know that I play pickleball with, and in one timeline, he had fixed up his boat, and then he had bought a truck to tow it with. So he does water skiing. And so for years he did water skiing and he had a boat. And then I think he lost his truck that towed it and he didn't use it for a long time. And then if you don't use it and it's not maintained, then you've got issues with the engine. And so he had fixed it all up. And then he was thinking of selling it, but then once it was all fixed up, he liked it so much, he just took it water skiing again a few times. And then all of a sudden, there was some shift or another, and he hadn't done that. He hadn't fixed it up. And so he was saying, oh yeah, I got to fix up my boat. After he had been saying that all the year before and fixed up his boat, now he's like, oh, I got to fix up my boat. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't you take it water skiing like a couple months ago? Nope. He has. So he's. Then he was saying he has to fix up his boat again. I'm like, poor Larry has to fix up his boat again in this timeline. So he was saying that for a while, and he still had bought this truck to pull. And I thought, before he had said he bought the truck to pull his boat, but now he bought the truck to pull a camper. So he's still got the truck, but now it's for a camper. So then he was going to fix up his boat to sell it, just like in the other timeline in the past. But then he sold it. He just sold that boat, and he didn't fix it up. He said, well, I got a pretty good price for it, not fixed up. So yeah, that boat's gone, and I guess he will not be water skiing with it in this timeline. So it's just so that when did I hear that? Monday. It was just kind of creepy because he just showed me it, and I was wondering if it would parallel the old timeline, because the old timeline, like a few years ago, he fixed up the boat. Then he decided he liked it so much that he started water skiing again. But Preliminal had 3 ends in banana. Interesting. Yeah, I did not have that. So that was one. And that one's kind of been an ongoing Mandela for me for months now. But this one is new, and it's a tiny one. It's another personal Mandela. I happen to like furniture that has, instead of the regular feet, that has like carved paws. So, like the old timey furniture, a lot of them do have that, where it'll just have like animal paws instead of just boring old sticks at the bottom of the furniture. So I had this one end, like it's kind of like not really an end table, but it's like one of those long, skinny tables that you can put under a window. And I inherited it, and it's a small table, but it has these really nice curvy feet. And then each foot had the carved, like a paw on the bottom. And I love that table, and I still love it. But I noticed this morning that the paws are gone. They're not paws anymore. So now they're ordinary sticks, and then they have something carved. So it used to be just paws on the bottom, but now it's just sticks with a kind of a shape carved a little bit above the end of the stick that might be a turtle's foot, or it I'm not even sure what it is now. It used to be like a paw, like like a cat or something, like something with the ordinary lumpy paws, but I don't know what it is now. But I'm kind of a little bummed. The rest of the table still has the beautiful shape, but the paws are gone. So I'm like, give me back my paws. Kind of bugging me. I kind of noticed like this is the second thing in my house that has lost its animal hand form, because there was a clip that was like an animal paw that would come and clip down, and it would hold your towel. And that's an older Mandela, and it switched to some kind of skinny elf hand thing with a ring on it. So yeah, I don't know. Clawfoot. Yeah, it was clawfoot, but now it's just stick clawfoot. So yeah, 2 other things left in the house still have clawfoot, but you can't really find that stuff anymore. It's just old-timey stuff that has the clawfoot. Multi-dimensional pickleball friend. Yeah. The other thing that's weird is when he said that on Monday, I realized that I very much, and I don't know how, kind of gotten over being bothered by him being a different version. Like, somehow my brain has made the ability to just think that's the same guy. Because when this first started happening with these time shifts and these different histories of people I know, then be like, oh my God, it's like a different person. And I don't know, what about my old friend? And blah, blah, and I just bug that it was hard. And suddenly now, I don't know, this last shift was a really strong shift. And it's kind of tweaked my brain or something, because somehow it was interesting, but my brain now thinks of him as the same guy as that other one, even though I don't know why it's thinking of him that way. Which guy was happier? That one fixed up his boat when skiing, or the one who just sold the boat? That's an interesting question, because for this guy, I would say that there's really not a lot of difference between versions of him. And so I couldn't really say. He's tends to be a fairly upbeat person in general. There was a few times when I felt like he was a little bit of a little bit jerky. Not, I wouldn't call him a jerk, but this was in, like, this was not the original version I knew, and it's not the current version, but there was a space in there for a few months where I was like, God, he's being kind of a dick. Not enough that I wouldn't hang out with him anymore, but he was just sort of, just kind of, like, he would tease, and it was just too much, like too a little bit too mean or something. And he wouldn't take the hint to quit it in, like, as fast as he should, I would say. But then it was like a few months, and then that passed. There's been weird stuff too. I don't know, but yeah, overall he's fairly stable though. Definitely. I mean, there's definitely been other people who have shifted a lot more than him. I think there are some strange Emmy things happening in the street where I live. They keep digging up and undigging the same place for the last 8 months. Yeah, you do have to wonder about that. It's like the same project in different timelines, and so you just keep there. There's one little tiny spot that was like that for months on the way home from work, where it was like they had dug up the pavement and then patched it. But so many times I would drive by and it would have a different patch. And like, this is a spot I drive like twice a day. And it takes a while for that tar stuff to dry. And when it does, it'll get on your tire and stuff. So like, it can't have a new patch every day, and some of the patches were all lumpy and some were kind of low. And like, there was a time when it just kept getting worse and worse, and I'd have to be more careful driving on there. This was back when I still had my Civic, so it was a while ago. But I had to kind of be careful, because if the dip was too deep, then I could scrape the bottom of my Civic or bounce it too hard. I don't know what's going on with that thing. And then one day I drove there, and the road had never been patched. Like, there was no sign of any patching, and it was just an old road from years ago. So now it didn't, and that's how it is now. There was never a patch. So I just spelled article in your submission papers. Really? I don't know. Maybe that's a different timeline's papers. 2 weeks he's back with the truck towing the camper that's towing the water ski boat, holding out a beer while honking the horn. I will freak out, actually, now that you mention it. It wouldn't be totally impossible for that freaking boat to show back up again. I don't know. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. I had a friend years ago who changed eye shade, height, and shaveness during shifts at work. Now he's a woman, not kidding. Yeah, yeah. There's one guy in my past that now, um, well, I don't know if yours is really a woman or just prefers to be a woman and did the procedure type of deal. I don't know if you're talking about DNA or actual, I mean, did the DNA change or just the looks? But yeah, there's one guy like that. The guy who always liked women and drooled over them and chased them, and now he has decided that he is a woman. So I don't like, of every last person in my entire high school, I would not have thought that he would have done that. So that's there's people that you think maybe they're a little, maybe they're gay, they don't seem to like women, blah, 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 but not him. So it was a trip. I mean, not necessarily a Mandela, but oh my God, the internet. Yeah, the internet is saying it's not spelled that way. They're saying it's a common misspelling of article. I've never seen article, so not DNA. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely, there's a lot more people like that in this timeline, I think, that are more interested in that kind of thing.
it's all complicated. You know, people are looking like the difference between men and women is not as obvious. You can't see it in the face. Women are getting more buffed. Women are in historically showing up in spots that they didn't used to be. You know, warriors and more man jobs. So the difference between the sexes, I feel, is lessening just from a natural perspective or a Mandela perspective. But then you have a lot of people choosing to switch, which seems a lot more than my old timeline. A lot more. Okay, this one is from our Japanese friend whose name in the characters translates to Taro Eto, but that is probably not the right translation, so I apologize. But I always think of this person as Taro. Basically, they just write in Japanese characters, and I cut and paste it over into the translator. So the trick with Japanese is a lot of those words can be read in various ways according to the context and stuff. And sometimes you just have to, if it's your name, you just have to tell them. Okay, so this is the good old Union Jack. So this is something I've been kind of noticing, but I agree. Taro believes that this red is getting fatter in the middle. Like it's just getting more and more extreme with the cross. And I agree with that. I feel like it's getting fatter. I've been talking about that for a while, but and I'm looking at it and I feel like there's something else too. I'm not quite sure. Is it something about the white banding here? Maybe thicker than I remember. The white just seems like there's more of it or something. So I'm thinking maybe this outline of the white has intensified. It just seems like there's like too much red and white and not very much blue. Like there used to be more blue not that long ago for this. This is the UK flag. So, you know, the older Mandelas is people remember the reds centered in here without the differences in the sizes of the whites. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the red cross is basically pounding me upside the head right now a lot more than it used to. And then the white. Used to be all centered. Yeah, this is more recent changes. I can't keep track of all the X and cross flags. Every other country has a flag like that now. Yeah, see, now they, in this timeline, the UK had control of a lot of countries and they stuck their flag into those other flags. So this pattern now is in all these other countries' flags that the UK once had, including Australia. That wasn't the case for my original timeline. When did the red diagonals get off center? That was years ago for me, like 5 or 6 years ago. Probably like 5. Didn't the reds all intersect without white? Okay, that version that you are discussing where the reds all intersected was one of the timelines at some point, but not for a while for me. It has been the fat whites for a while, but it just wasn't this fat. So it does seem like this one varies. I think Mandela Affected had it on a while, like many years ago, that he had written up several versions. He had come, I think, with 3 timelines, each with a different Union Jack, and he had kind of narrowed down the feeling of that timeline. Like one was more harsh timeline, that kind of thing. I suspect now that it's so massively scrambled that he couldn't possibly just have 3 timelines. But back in the early days, that might have been possible. You talked about the Lemurian court's last show. Yes, I think she just mentioned it. I wish I knew how to show a pic of the inkjet and the submission form that the inkjet goes onto the boxes. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in there. It might be some timeline article. All right, so that one is from Taro Eto, which I'm probably saying it totally wrong. Okay, this one is an interesting one. It is not a Mandela for me, but it was a really big Mandela on retconned. And since it's a slow week, that's what's going on. So many of you probably know FLOZ stands for fluid ounce. And that's all I've ever heard of is standing for fluid ounce. But apparently, there's a fairly big contingent of people who remember it as floral ounce. Actually, let me just do a Google and see what comes up. Yes, okay, this is the exact one actually. So now if you type in floral ounce, it goes straight to this same Mandela effect from Raymond Zeta Function. Yes, that's the same person on the other. So she posted on Mandela Effect Reddit subreddit and on Retcon subreddit. Same person though, Raymond Zeta Function is the username. So she remembers it being floral ounce. And there was like kind of a storyline. You know how the Mandela comes up with their funky stories. So there was a weird story that, flower scented water was used for something, and then they had to make it standardized, and they used ounces, and that's why they call it floral ounce. But now it never happens. But there's a bunch of people talking about floral ounces. The thing is, if you looked at FL and then OZ, I just don't see a lot of people thinking, oh, floral ounce. But if you add the fact that she remembers the whole backstory of looking up why it was called a floral ounce and this whole backstory in history existing, then that makes it unlikely that she had just like somehow misread FL. I was raised always using floral ounces. Now everyone uses fluid ounces. When did this change happen? Wikipedia. See, some people didn't even know if it was FLORAL or FLURAL, floral ounces. They just heard that name all the time, floral ounces. So I'm wondering if it's some timeline it was floral ounces as an alternate or possible along with. See, some of these people said they never even heard of fluid ounces. They only knew floral ounces. So she found all these people who remembered it. But beyond this batch, there's really no evidence of it at all. The backstory is gone. I always thought it was floral ounces. How on earth did my childhood brain come up with that? I just don't feel like floral is like the most likely guess if you saw FL. And everybody remembers the same thing. There's not any other versions of it. So I don't know. Yeah, anybody remember floral ounces? The other thing is there was a fair number of people that did chime in and say they also remembered floral. Lawnmower remembers fluid or floral. Yeah, so he remembers two of them, see? Yep, some of the words I make up and use is just something to do. Yeah, but why does everybody come up with floral ounce? They all came up with the same one. That's what makes it suspicious. Yeah, not Florida ounces, floral ounces. So again, like I'd say, maybe a lot of people made the mistake, but she found a whole backstory, historical backstory, that long and meandering, explaining it. So that makes it even more suspicious. How lonely to be a minority, Mandela affected. Yes, but in this case, there was quite a number of people chiming in that remembered the same. Wasn't there a change with tablespoon and teaspoon too? Not that I recall. The bad Emmy knowing that kryptonite is now real and in the periodic table. Yes, that is ridiculous. The kryptonite is real. Yeah. Yeah, what else are we going to get? It's really like, it's just like anything that gets attention is kind of becoming real now. So maybe floral meant fluid in another timeline. Yeah, she said she remembers the backstory having to do actual with flower water, though, like FLOWER water. Okay, so anyway, that was an interesting one. Oh, you know what? I think I'm done. Yes, I heard very few of them. Very few of them. So I have a half hour left. Sorry for getting off the subject. We got no more subjects, so you can get off any subject you want. Oh, Jennifer Silvas did not know that kryptonite was real. Why don't we just go check it out? Make sure it still is. Kryptonite is real. And it's on the periodic table. A mineral discovered in a Serbian mine has the same chemical composition as kryptonite. (2007). It's not green and it doesn't grow. Towards the end of my research, I researched the web using the mineral's chemical formula, sodium, lithium, boron, silicate, hydroxide, and was amazed to discover that same scientific name written on a case of rock containing kryptonite stolen by Lex Luthor. It's white rather than green, but in all other respects, the chemistry match that for the rock containing kryptonite. So they want to call it jadeite because it does not come from Krypton. Well, who knows? Maybe it did come from Krypton. Poor Superman. Yeah, if we find that there are people who are allergic to it or something, that will be extra weird. We should be careful what we're thinking about. We are the makers. Yes, I mean, I do have a strong suspicion that that's the case. And there's always a question of what happened first, is that the chicken or the egg. So we start talking about something, it becomes a meme, it becomes viral, and then it happens. So did it become meme and become viral because we could sense it was going to happen in the future and it was some kind of precognition or foreshadowing? Or did it happen because it became popular and we talked about it a lot? That's always a tricky one. If you look at the Krypton wiki page, it now says it was used to define the length of a meter. Krypton is a chemical element with the symbol Kr and atomic number 36. Is used in lighting and photography. Krypton light has many spectral lines. And krypton plasma is useful in bright, high-powered gas lasers. Krypton fluoride makes useful laser medium, blah, blah, blah. Discovered in 1898. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm a bit confused because I just thought there was one, but now we have krypton and kryptonite as two separate things. Sometimes this stuff hurts my brain. So krypton is a noble gas. I don't remember learning that as one of the noble gases as a kid anyway. Krypton has a narcotic potency 7 times greater than air. And breathing an atmosphere of 50% krypton and 50% natural air, as might happen in the locality of a leak, causes narcosis in humans similar to breathing air at 4 times atmospheric pressure. This is comparable to scuba diving at a depth of 100 feet. At the same time, that mixture would only contain 10% oxygen rather than normal 20%, and hypoxia would be a greater concern. Okay, so narcosis. So I think that means narcotic, right? Just krypton produces much higher light power than neon in the red spectral line region. Okay, interesting. We only need superhumans with superpowers. I think we're getting them, though. I mean, if you just look at how the Olympic athletes are now compared to 20 years ago, your memory of what they were 20 years ago. So if you look at the regular official history, you'll see that even that, they seem better than I remember them being, even if they're not as good as the current ones. Like the skill set's going backwards in time along with the tech, I think. And frankly, I really feel like my reflexes have improved a ton over like 15, 20 years ago, which really should not happen. As you age, you should get worse. Like stuff that falls, I really just almost hardly think about it. If something's falling, I just whoosh, grab, put back. I'm faster than gravity by a lot now, and that used to take up a lot of my brain to catch that, and I would have to like grab, oh, got it, and take a second for my brain to reset. Then I'd put it back up. Now I'm like, I don't even hardly stop thinking about what I'm doing as I catch this thing and put it back up there. Now, granted, I do tend to have a little bit faster reflexes than average, but still, I mean, the level of improvement it's got to be like twice as good, really. It's really amazing now what I can do compared to before. I notice it most on things that are dropping, just because, you know, I don't know. It used to be like, it was like all my brain cells to catch that thing before it hit the floor. And now, yeah, got it. No problem. We need to mean peace, love, and understanding. Yeah, well, I definitely think it's a good idea to try to resonate that with that as much as possible. But, you know, the daily grind, it's kind of hard to keep your brain even on that, you know. You're like, like world peace. That damn neighbor is so effing loud. You know, it's like you just get distracted, then you got to go, okay, love thy neighbor. You know, at least the neighbor's having a good time, and it's really not that bad. And you know, it's just this daily journey that you have to navigate. Every step, there's a choice to go positive, negative, neutral. Do we repeat the same life over and over until we get it right, even though our memories are wiped? We have them buried. Yeah, well, some people say that's the definition of karma, is to just sort through your baloney. Narcosis while diving is a reversible alteration in consciousness that occurs while diving at depth. It's caused by anesthetic effect of certain gases. Interesting. Okay. I mean, I knew that they could make you loopy, but I kind of just assumed it was not enough oxygen in the brain. That would be interesting that so the kryptonite in the show kind of like weakens him and makes his brain go blah, so it would be interesting if Krypton also kind of could have the same effect if it causes narcosis. Yeah, it's narcosis, not necrosis. I think I'd rather have narcosis. Yeah, necrosis means tissue death. Even if you wanted to send someone healing, you have to ask for permission. I know that's kind of a common spiel, but on the other hand, I've heard of people saying you can just ask at that, like, the energetic level. I do think you can't force anything on anybody, so I don't think you could force somebody to heal. They have to do it. It has to agree with their energy. Dr. Lupo used to say he heard background music. Others said it also. When I asked what it sounded like, they said somewhat like jazz. Do you think we are in tanks and the lab workers are listening to music? I don't know. I've never heard of any of that stuff, so. Do you think it's improved nutrition and thought that has made your reflexes better? No, I don't think that's what it is, actually. Frankly, in recent years, I've been, my brain is kind of, I feel like it's like yesterday. Yesterday is a good example. Yesterday, I really felt like I had taken some drugs or something. I don't know what drugs. I'm not a drug expert. And it really, the few I've tried, it wasn't really like that. But there was like something wrong with my brain. I just couldn't flog it into concentrating. I just felt like I was running at like 40% brain power, and it was really frustrating. I like it when my brain is sharp, and it wouldn't freaking work. There was no reason for it. My food's been good. I haven't eaten anything weird. Schedule's been the same old. And there's days like that where, like, who slipped me a Mickey while I was sleeping or something? I don't know, and it'll usually pass right around dark. It starts to lift. There's just something about, and sometimes like at 10, it'll get way better, like 10 p.m. And then like at 3 o'clock in the morning is usually when my brain is like sharper than it's going to be all day. But I don't know, I tend to think this might be shift related. Like after a shift, my brain is just, and it's interesting that 3 a.m. is when I'm the sharpest, because 3 a.m. is when the most people are asleep. So I don't know if it's some kind of morphogenic field thing. I've been hard for me to like stay awake during the day, and then at night when people are sleeping is when my brain works. So I don't know what's going on, but yeah. So when you say like health and sharpness of brain and stuff, my brain is, it's definitely kind of a struggle, especially on certain days. And the vitamin B1 has helped a lot with it. But yesterday it was like, man, nothing could put a dent in that. I've had that after taking new omega-3s, or is it hormones? I don't know. Some nights I hear very faint old music, like one's playing on gramophone. The classic music in background has been going on since I was a child. This is interesting. There's a billion people on here saying this. Dr. Lupo got very strange. He is now doing something really different. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really follow that guy. The rainbow colored real Krypton. Oh, yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some rainbow colored. They've got planets that's supposed to rain diamonds and stuff. So a rainbow planet would be like nothing compared to what we've already, whatever they claim is out there now. So yeah, I don't know. In some ways my brain has gotten, I think I've definitely let go of a lot of baloney that I used to have. Slowly and somewhat painfully managed to offload some of that judgment, ego. I'm not done yet, but there's been progress and I had a long way to go. So you got to consider that too. But as far as functionality and sharpness of the brain, every now and then it's like as sharp as a razor's edge, but most of the time it's not. And I actually love it when my brain's sharp too. So blew my mind that Tom Petty died in 2017, but I must be crazy or news was wrong. Yep. Oh, I try to mess the stream past 2 hours again. Manifest. Yeah, I don't know. I think I want to manifest it as 1 hour and 59 minutes. So. Music of the spheres. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what is tinnitus? I mean, some people say it might be that. I don't know. I think there's definitely something going on with the tinnitus, that it's something that we're hearing. I don't personally think it's just your brain being stupid. Last I checked, they said it's not actually coming from the ear, but they have traced it to coming from your brain. So they think that their story was that there was damage to the ear, and then for some reason that did not, it threw off the balance between the ear and the brain, and then, but the main point is that it came from your brain. I suspect it might be some kind of perception thing of some kind of energy, reality, significant of something, is my personal opinion. Foggy brain day. So yesterday was a really bad foggy brain day. So some days, maybe I just feel crabby. Not a ton of days anymore, luckily. Yesterday I was just loopy. Like I felt like my brain was like toffee. It just was extra. What they call tinnitus is really frequency assault. They can alter your mood and make you feel drugged. Yeah, why even bother? I mean, I wasn't doing anything yesterday. If they could do that, what would be their point of doing it? That's the other thing. And then why would it ease off, at dark? And why would it be fine at 3 a.m.? And I don't know. And stimulants do beat a lot of it back, too, I've noticed. I don't like to take them that often, but the asthma medicine is a stimulant, so sometimes I'll take that. It's still over the counter, but if I really got to get something done, I'll sometimes take that. I didn't yesterday because I didn't really have to get something done. There's some that always hear diesel droning like me for entire 44 years of surviving. So I can hear multiple tones with my tinnitus. I generally just ignore them. There's the whiny one, like me. That one I have been hearing a lot lately. That one will kind of kick in and out. So I'll be minding my own business, and then suddenly I'll just hear me. So you notice it because it changes. That was also one that when I was first learning of the Mandela, and I was sort of sitting here going, "Oh, I can't believe it," and my brain was like just kind of freaking out. And I just remember once I suddenly just heard that noise in my head, like so loud, like it was almost just symbolic of my brain short circuiting. Oh, the 3 a.m. times are most productive for me, but I finally switched to a normal schedule and I like to maintain it for quite some time. Yeah, that was basically what I've been trying to do. I seem like I sleep really good if I go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and then sleep 8 hours after that. But that's like not normal human hours. So, people like to do things in the morning, and if I want to meet other humans, I kind of need to do things in the morning sometimes. So I've tried to shift it around a more normal schedule, but that's kind of hit and miss. I've been doing better lately, but so yeah, I got that tone me, and then I can hear the other tones. I just have to shift my attention to them, but they're there all the time. And one is an even higher whining noise that sounds like fluorescent lighting, except for even if there's none on, I can hear it. And there's one that sounds like water running in the pipes. Like if you're in the house and somebody runs water outside, then you can sort of hear them in the pipes. But even though nobody's running the water or I'm not near pipes, I can hear that one. And then there's like a sound like if I'm out, certain areas out in the wilderness, there's, I don't know, kind of a pulsing noise I can hear. That one, for some reason, just sounds really loud when I'm out. Like one time I went out into this area that was like between two large kind of hill-like mountains. And it was just, I don't know, it was super loud. Has anybody heard of the nuclear sending to the moon? I mean the rocket. I don't know, not specifically. Or like you hear different radio stations, like one in the shower. So that was something I couldn't do before. Like if I heard a fan, I couldn't hear voices in the fan, the whir of the fan, or in the shower. But it's becoming more possible. And a few times I felt like I almost heard voices in the fan, but then it freaked me out and I didn't want to. I'm like, no, I don't want to be schizophrenic or whatever. I don't know what I thought, but it just freaked me out. So I said, no, I don't wanna. And then I couldn't hear it after that. So it's almost like I just chose. That was like a few years ago. But I hear a lot of that now, people naturally doing that. I think maybe in the current timeline, the veil is thinner and stuff like that is much more common now. Okay. Quote by Pythagoras: there is geometry in the humming of the strings, there is music in the spacing of the spheres. The people I knew who could hear music said it was hard to make out. I don't know. What is the music of the spheres going to sound like? Oh, I hate fan voices. That drives me so nuts. Yeah, so I don't know. It just kind of freaked me out because I thought, well, hearing voices makes you crazy. But, like it's so common now. So many people hear it. So basically, the fan makes that whirring noise, and it just kind of, if you kind of listen, then you could almost make out like voices in it, and then the more you listen, the clearer it gets. But then not quite clear enough to quite make it out, but then it freaked me out, and I didn't want to hear it. So I don't know how clear it would get because I was freaked out. I mean, I knew it wasn't. It's a weird thing because I know that it's not really there, but the more I listen, the you could just kind of make it out. It was just. Because then I'm like, well, what if I could actually hear what they were saying? I don't know if I wanted to. Sweetheart 11, same yeah, I'm really getting suspicious because I've talked to quite a number of people who have shifted over to this 3 a.m. is when I'm sharp as attack thing. And I really don't think it's a coincidence that 3 a.m. is when the most people are asleep. So whenever the max number of people are zonked out is when I'm sharp. And so these other people live in other parts of the world, but they have the same schedule. So it's 3 a.m. for their time zone is when they are most sharp. And so 3 a.m. still is generally the time that the average humans are asleep. So it really does seem like it might be some kind of morphogenic field thing or influence of group consciousness. And when they're like zonked out, maybe it's easier and less influence on the rest of us. The other thing that's interesting is in my old timeline, the witching hour was always midnight. There was only one creepy hour, woo, midnight. But apparently here, a lot of people think the witching hour is 3 o'clock in the morning. So ironically, that's probably the time of day when I feel least witchy and most sharp as attack with my brain all centered and clacking along and not zonked out. Yeah, you got to watch out for the bots. Sorry. Radiation is high in daylight and small at night. Yeah, maybe. I have wondered about that. I know there is a change in radiation, of the way the atom supposedly bounces in the atmosphere. Petite Penguin has the 3 a.m. sharp one. I even went to the my brain is a little off tonight still. It's the when they stick the pins in you, it's the what is that treatment where they poke you with little pins? It's this is awful. 3 a.m. might not be my sharpest time, but actually it's all relative. Even though we're at 2 a.m. right now, I'm still sharper than I was earlier. Anyway, I went to the acupuncturist. That's it. And told him, I go, my whole schedule's flipped around. I'm awake, as sharp as awake at 3 a.m. and I'm sleepy all day. And he did some stuff. And the first day he did it, it worked. I felt really sharp during the day. It worked. But it only lasted one day, and then the next day went back to the old. And then the next time I went and he tried it, it didn't work. So I gave up. That's kind of my problem with a lot of acupuncturists is some of them will only work for one day, and then that's it. They'll never work again. Mandanimal likes 3 a.m. Yeah, I don't know. There's something going on. So yes, those are my two best guesses. Was it Matt that said that? I had thought of that earlier, like a few years ago. It was the radiation of the sun, and it does seem like it gets better right around darkish. But that's also like when people get out of work and stuff too. So I'm like stress levels might drop right around then. So I'm like either like some kind of sun radiation thing. Plus, we're already suspicious of the weird white sun. Or it could be some kind of consciousness morphogenic field thing and people are asleep at 3 a.m. But then again, maybe those two are linked together, maybe they're just different manifestations of the same thing. I don't know. 3 a.m. is a special time of day for musicians. Yeah, see, there was nothing special about 3 a.m. before for me. I never heard of it being anything. It was midnight was the witching hour, and that was it. It might also be that when most people are asleep near us, we are not distracted as much by sounds, which are so faint we cannot consciously hear Yeah, I gotta say though, frankly, I've never been much bugged by sounds. I live out in the country, so the sounds are pretty constant. It's animals, and they can be really loud when the frogs are out all night. And then the cars, there's like a freeway nearby, so there's like kind of a hum from the freeway, and that's pretty constant even at night. And there's really nobody near that I could even reasonably hear other than those. So 3 a.m. is the time with the least amount of cell phone activity. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm far enough out. I'm not sure how much cell phone can reach over here. Plus, my understanding of how the cell phone works is that the signal is always in the air, even if you're not using it. Have you heard about the conditions in Winter Olympic? It's horrible. Okay, well, I've definitely seen some videos of them cheating, which has been really weird. I mean, like video of obvious cheating that they're ignoring, and that Chinese, and crappy food. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not what Olympic athletes should be eating, a lot of isolation and stuff. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's horrible, but it's definitely not very professional or high quality is what I've been hearing. But try yin yoga. It's kind of like acupuncture. Stimulates the fascia in the body. Hold stretches. I could try that. Because I probably do have way too much yang, I think. Most would say the sun was always blue. The sun was always blue? I mean, you mean in the current timeline? Because I think we would say it was yellow. I don't know. I found out a thing a while back and it said, oh, the sun's actually green, according to scientists, but yet we can't see the greenness because there's too many other wavelengths or some kind of baloney. China made their own sun. Well, I know they were working on it. Bad food, no hot food, bad living conditions. Yeah, I mean, the things they described were like I lived in a motel conditions. So I wouldn't say they were horrible. It just some kind of crap motel where I stayed for the Tucson show because I didn't want to spend $300 a night. Not horrible, but just pretty cringy, chintzy for the the Olympics. Certainly embarrassing. Watch the time. Yeah, I'm going to kick out of here in a minute here. Poor athletes starving, hungry, only cold food, weird meats. Yeah, I saw some of the meals. I'm like, well, I can't see the weightlifters eating 500 calories for dinner. And some of those swimmers and stuff, they burn through so much ridiculous calories that I mean, are they going to give them like 10 of those meals? So, yeah, I really don't have that much more to say. So I don't think I'm going to do a part 2 stream today. Sorry. Maybe next time. But I think today I'm going to kick out. I'm like done talking about Mandelas anyway. So I'm just shooting the breeze over everything at this point. All right, anyway, so thank you all, guys. I think we're done with the Mandela show. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.